Right, I wasn't sure if I was going to do like another update about this because honestly, after posting my video yesterday, I felt a little bit ghoulish. Just kind of reporting on it as if I was like, just throwing my hat in to get some attention while it was a hot topic, and maybe there's a touch of that in. But again, Titanic is also just a subject that like greatly interests me. Got various books on the subject. It's one of my like longest interests ever, and I morally dubiously, I do actually have a fragment of Titanic coal, which was from where, the same place where these current events are going on. It is in this box here, actually. During the 1994 Titanic Research and Recovery Expedition, authenticated by Arnie Geller, chairman of RMS Titanic Incorporated, from the Titanic itself, because there's a bit of a loophole where you can't really sell artifacts recovered, but you can sell minerals, and this was coal that would have been used in the boilers, and they are able to chip pieces off it and sell it. The idea, apart from making it collectible, was to help pay for restoration work for like other artifacts. So here there's that. Even I myself admit this is a bit of a morally dubious thing to have. I picked it up second hand. I didn't buy it new from anywhere. But this does kind of link into sort of current events in a different way because among the other updates, we actually do know who four of the people are who are on board the sub. Obviously, it was reported on first because that's just the way it is. Was Hamish Harding, a British businessman explorer who was kind of on Twitter again, making comments about a billionaire and being pretty unkind. Shahzada Dawood, 48, and Sulman Dawood, his son, other business people. And one of the other people they've confirmed on it is P.H. Narjale. Now, it kind of links into this because the RMS Titanic Inc. sort of expeditions that kind of was responsible for like the recovery of this. They were in the 80s and 90s with a company called Ifremer, who was like the French sort of oceanographics institute. And P.H. Narjale, who was one of the people currently missing, was actually a very significant member of it. I mentioned in the video yesterday that some submersibles have safety features. One of the submersibles I mentioned was Nautil. He was actually one of the pilots of Nautil. And if you watch a lot of the old documentaries from the late 80s and early 90s on the Titanic wreck, Paige Narjale is in quite a lot of them. So he is someone who has quite a history and not a simple tourist, as some people might say. He actually is someone with a lot of insight and a lot of experience with the wreck. They haven't quite confirmed the other person who's on, who I'm assuming is the pilot. Yet things just are really not looking good now. Seen different estimates from different news sites are reporting that if the capsule is intact, they'll have maybe anything between 90 and 50 hours of emergency oxygen left. It seems the company, Ocean Gate, is kind of keeping things quite close to its chest, which is kind of understandable because, this is still an active rescue going on. And again, I do hope that something happens, but if you will allow me to be a bit ghoulish and morbid here, is really starting not to look very good now. A little bit more information has come out. They reckon when they did lose contact, it was on its way down to Titanic. So there's a few possibilities. It's still sort of in between in the ocean. It's actually at the Titanic wreck, or it has since floated to the surface, because there was some mention about a safety feature that if there's like electronic interaction after 24 hours, I think, it would actually drop its ballast weight and allow it to float to the surface. They did have a feature a bit like the ones I was talking about yesterday with some of the other subs. So far, they haven't seen it on the surface. That's not a good sign, although the ocean is vast, and if say there has been an issue with power and the electrics are down, that could be why. I hope they're on the surface, because that's kind of the best case scenario, and that they're found quickly. One thing I never really considered until I was kind of looking at the Titan again, it doesn't have a hatch. They actually enter the sub by kind of taking off the front section and then bolting it together. Again, due to its unique design, that's not something submersibles typically have. Submersibles are like typically solid pieces with a hatch above that allows like entrance and exit. So if the submarine is actually on the surface, that's actually a bit of a problem because ordinarily any other submersible, whether it's like Alvin, Nautil, Lemire's, if they were, say, stuck on the surface and needed oxygen, they could open the hatch and get it. But not with this sub, so even if it is on the surface, it's still a sealed container until it's actually recovered. Even so, that's still probably the best case scenario. The other scenario is that it is actually at the Titanic site. It is either stuck on the bottom due to some failure. There's some theory, and I don't want to speculate too much because like there's just kind of no evidence for it, at least not yet, that perhaps it's entangled in debris or wreckage. We don't know. And then there's what I consider actually possibly the worst case scenario, and that is actually intact, but it is mid-ocean because that just kind of widens the search area so much if it is some point between the surface and the ocean rather than just be at one or the other. I don't know how they're going to do it, but there are ships on the way right now, ships with ROVs, remotely operated vehicles. So that's essentially what's replaced submersibles for most industries, including exploration, oil, etc. Is they use robots instead of sending people down. It's a lot safer, and they can do much longer work, and it's just a much more efficient way of exploring the ocean. Sending people down now is a bit more of a novelty than it. Well, no, it's rarer than it once was, and sadly, it's kind of for reasons like what's going on right now. It's like the risk to human life, and just that science has advanced to the point where we don't need to stick people in tubes and send them down the ocean, but obviously, like wreck tourism, so people want to be there. There is rescue going, and hopefully with the ROVs, they will hopefully be able to find something in time if the sub is intact and the people need recovering. Again, ideally, recovered from the surface if the sub is intact. If they are on the near or on the bottom of the ocean, that's so much more difficult. No one has been recovered from depths like that before. I mean, depending on the ROVs, there's still like a possibility they could make a recovery, like whether it's attaching like ballast bags or even a cable. I suppose anything that they do in terms of that would be good, but I don't know. Probably hesitate to call the mid-ocean one the worst case scenario, because obviously you could say the worst case scenario is, and again, it's a bit ghoulish and morbid to theorize about it, is that there has been like a catastrophic implosion, like whether due to a failure or a crash or something else, and which case, you know, the worst has already happened, and then this is now a recovery operation rather than a rescue. But I'm still hoping, and as well as other people, and I hope anyone watching this is also hoping as well that there is still a chance to be recovered, but time does seem to be running out for the chance of like a successful rescue. Even assume that is intact, the people are still alive. Yeah, it's not worth thinking about. There's possibly only a couple of days left where anything meaningful can be done, and I've been checking the news all day. Like even when I've been at work, I've been like checking my phone, just checking the computer. I'm kind of wanting an update as much as everyone else, and it's such a strange but also like quite a haunting story, and yeah, it's like just a nightmare scenario for anyone who's like in the depths of the ocean like that. But anyway, I just thought I'd do a quick update. I do appreciate anyone who has tuned into the previous one and this one, and I'm just hoping that we still get a happy ending here.